What's going on, guys? I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. I hope y'all are killing it. So I get asked all the time questions about my truck, and especially because it has the 6.2 liter V8, same engine as the Raptor, and it's becoming kind of a rarity. So a little backstory: I've had the truck now for just about 4 years. I've put 70,000 miles on it, just about. It's been pretty much a flawless truck through and through. I'm gonna get into that. I'm gonna give you all the details about what it's like owning this truck, all the nitty gritty, the good, the bad. But before that, we have some really good news regarding the Mustang. So if you watched the last video, you'll know the Mustang actually broke down on us trying to take it for a test drive to show my buddy. And I'm glad to say that it's fixed. The problem, it was stupid. It was really stupid. I went through every single ground connection on this car, the main battery grounds, the stuff under the car, checked the voltage of the starter. I was about to pull the starter, and then we found out that it was the battery terminals. They looked fine, but we were losing 12 volts at the battery, and at the battery wires, it was 9 volts, which won't start a car. So got a terminal cleaner, cleaned it off, everything's working. We're gonna take it for a real quick spin just because I haven't driven it since the fix, and then we're gonna get into talking about the 6.2 liter beast that is its brother, I guess. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by. So this is a 2000 Mustang GT. It's the project car. We got a motor in the garage, we're building for it. But for now, straight piped V8. So this car is basically stock, has a BBK intake, straight pipes. That's pretty much it. But the straight pipes, they make I'll be honest, the truck does not sound this good, but it still sounds pretty good. We'll get to that later though. Actually, we'll get to that right now. So the truck is not stock, but it doesn't have that many mods done apart from like the visual stuff. So on the motor, we do have an intake. It's a Spectre intake, so it's nothing like too fancy. We do have a tune. It's one of the SCT tunes that comes with a tuner, so again, nothing too fancy. We have an exhaust cutout, which makes it louder. Doesn't really add power, but it adds cool points, and that's what matters. Now visually, I have a Rough Country 4-inch lift, 35 by 12.5-inch tires, some fuel wheels, and of course the Arctic camo wrap. I know a bunch of you are going to try to call it a cow, justified, but it's Arctic camo. And of course we got the Spider headlights with HIDs and the LED light bars and pods to go with it. Other than that, the truck is basically in its stock form. The lift and tires have been on the truck for 2 years, so I can kind of give a perspective of stock versus lifted, and I tell you there is a big difference, especially when it comes to performance, because stock, this truck rips. It's actually pretty quick. The 6.2 liter V8 from the factory, we're looking at 411 horsepower and 434 pound-foot of torque. With the mods we have on the truck, I bet we're still probably pushing just about the same. And then when you add the 35-inch tires, of course, you're gonna lose a whole lot of that and a whole lot of the fuel mileage. Now factory, this is rated, I believe it's 15.7 on the highway and like 13 in the city. Usually with this lift and tires, I'm getting like 10 city and maybe 13 highway if we're lucky. Usually it's in the 11 to 12 range. So 6.2 gas mileage. Don't expect much. Stock though, you're looking at getting like maybe 15 to 16 on the highway. Best I ever got was 15.7. So it's not gonna blow your socks off by any means. Now this is a 2011, the same model year, you could either get the 3.5 liter EcoBoost or of course the infamous 5.0. Now performance parts wise, both of those engines have infinitely more options than the 6.2 does, because this has almost nothing. For the 6.2, what's available? You can get an intake, real nice. You can get a tune. That's just about where it ends. There's not many parts you can get for this engine. For instance, cams. If you wanted to cam it, one company, Livernois. It's $1,500 for the cams alone. It's like $4 grand for the set. So that's not really an option. Of course, you can put a blower on it. You can put a Whipple, something like that, but then you're paying like $8,000 for forced induction. You're gonna make a whole bunch of power. It's gonna be awesome, but it just costs a lot of money. Whereas in the EcoBoost, you can tune it and gain like what, 100 horsepower. The 5.0, there's so many other mods you can do. The 6.2 kind of gets short into the stick. At the same time though, you'd have bigger displacement and you do have more power from the factory. So I'm gonna start her up. We're gonna take her for a quick little spin. We can talk about some more things that have gone wrong, which really there isn't much of but there are some details that are kind of important to mention. For now, here's a somewhat cold startup 2011 F-150 with the 6.2. There are plenty of exhaust options available for the 6.2. There's Roush, MagnaFlow, all the usual stuff. I decided to go with a QuickTime Performance electronic cutout so I could choose between having it loud or quiet. And it was great until I broke it going through a mud puddle and I ripped my whole exhaust off. That being said though, exhaust cutout's very nice. Not the cleanest sound, but it makes it louder, makes it sound pretty cool. Now obviously the 6.2 was a special option for the F-150. It didn't come as standard. You could either get it in the Lariat Limited, which is what this truck is, the Harley Davidson, or if you had like a special order Lariat, or I know even some King Ranches came with them, but it had to be a special order car unless you got one of the limited production run F-150s. So these are starting to get just a little bit more rare, and they're starting to hold their value just a little bit more than the average F-150. The 6.2 is kind of becoming a little bit of a rarity since it's not made anymore. They're just starting to become a little more desirable. Now obviously interior wise is going to depend on what trim level you get with these trucks, but 90% of the time it's going to be a higher trim level, so you're looking at a pretty nice interior. In this case it is the limited interior, which has been kept pretty clean. I do my best. It's a really great place to be. The seats, I mean, they're pretty comfortable. They're not King Ranch seats, they're pretty dang good. Overall, it's just a really great truck, really comfortable truck. Great for road trips, great for everything you need to do. Of course, gas mileage, yeah, that's not great for road trips. So a little bit on the cost of ownership of these vehicles. Parts-wise, absolutely nothing on the motor has failed. In 135,000 miles, not a single thing on the motor has gone wrong. There have been a few other things that have happened though. Most recently, a CV joint in the front drive shaft went out. I'll show y'all that when we get back to the house. It was making a really bad clicking noise. It was pretty terrible. Also, the fuel gauge went out, so I had to drop the tank. I've had to do it 3 times now because of faulty units that have been sent to me by unnamed company. Anyway, fuel gauge went out. I had to replace the whole unit. It was a pain in the butt. So other than that though, nothing mechanical has gone wrong. Now, general maintenance with the 6.2, it can be kind of a hassle, especially in the world of spark plugs. This truck has 16 spark plugs. There's 8 regular spark plugs, 8 after spark plugs that are on the bottom of the engine, which are super inconvenient. I did this myself, and let me tell you, it's no small feat. It took me 11 hours to change my spark plugs. 11 hours, one of them stripped out, had to redo the whole. It was such a pain in the butt. I got it quoted at the dealer though for $800 in labor to change spark plugs. So take note of that when you're looking at the 6.2. Maybe try to get one that already has had the plugs changed at least once, because it is not something you want to do. It's super expensive. It's just one of those things that comes with having the 6.2. That extra cost for changing it out is not fun. One of the big questions, one of the things I was concerned with, performance. What's the performance like on the 6.2? It's really hard to compete with EcoBoost, I gotta say, but this truck, when it was not lifted and didn't have 35s, it would do 0 to 60 in the 5-second range. I could do upper 5 seconds. It would get there, it would boogie. It's really not a slow truck, especially this truck has all-wheel drive and 4-high. It's a little bit different setup. Put it in all-wheel and it would really, really move for a truck. Put this truck up to a stock 5.4 from the previous gen or 5.0 of the same year, and it's gonna be no problem. You should be able to beat them in a race. Even a 3.5 EcoBoost, it's got more power, so a stock EcoBoost, it should be a close race. You should technically be able to. The only problem is this engine, cast iron block, is very heavy, so that's where the EcoBoost can kind of edge you out a little bit. But at the same time, it's a 6.2. How can you go wrong? Now, if you do want to see the truck going up against a 2010 5.4 liter truck, go click the video like up there. There's also a link down in the description. You can see that video. The results probably won't surprise you. They probably won't. While we're on the subject of performance though, we'll go ahead and do a few little bitty pulls, maybe some flybys, so you can hear what it sounds like. The 6.2, without a doubt, does sound awesome. The truck's still not slow. 0 to 60 is like 8 seconds flat with the setup I have right now. probably could do it a little quicker depending on the pull, but about 8 seconds. The high 7-second range when you're lifted, 35s, stock gearing, that's what you're gonna be looking like, which is like 2 to 3 seconds slower than what it was before. To be expected though, it's a give and take. As you can see, and as you'd expect, the 6.2 is no slouch. It is still a beast of a motor. In fact, it's called the boss motor. So how can you go wrong? Back on the subject of fuel economy, over the last 5,500 miles in this truck, I have gotten 11.5 average MPG, which is obviously really not good. And especially with gas prices going up right now, it's something to consider. However, if you're like me, then when you're buying a truck like this, the fuel economy isn't really the #1 concern. But that being said, my straight pipe 20-year-old Mustang gets better fuel economy. But when you listen to that V8 and you know that you're driving a 6.2 liter F-150, the worries about fuel economy go away and it just becomes one heck of a truck, a solid truck, and a reliable truck. The 6.2 is known by the F-150 community as one of the most reliable engines that Ford has put out. This is exactly the Raptor motor. It's pulled out of the Raptor. It was used in some of the Super Duties, however, it was tuned a little bit different in those applications. But this motor is known to be extraordinarily reliable. Like I said, I have 135,000 miles just about, and it has had no engine problems at all, not a single one. Now, does that lack of repair costs make up for the fuel economy costs and the spark plug deal? That's up for you to decide. However, I think 6.2 definitely a great investment, and I think it'll hold its value just a little bit better than a 5.0 or an EcoBoost of a similar generation. So that CV joint I was talking about is right in there, and there isn't really a CV joint left. So yeah, the truck's 2-wheel drive right now until I get that hopefully rebuilt or replaced. One of those things is kind of a wear item. Eventually CVs kind of tend to wear out. If you have any other questions about the 6.2, what it's like owning a 6.2 liter V8, please leave a comment down below. If you can find one, I highly recommend it. I have 0 complaints about this truck. It has treated me so well, and it's so awesome to be able to say you have a 6.2 and watch people try to argue with you and tell you that F-150s don't have 6.2s, but they do. Don't be fooled. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by. If you want to be a part of the Covert Garage, be sure to hit that subscribe button. There's a lot of cool stuff going on with the Mustang and the truck. The Mustang, very soon. Since we have this issue fixed, like 2 weeks. The motor is getting yanked out. Now, like I said, if you have any more questions regarding either the truck or the Mustang, leave a comment down below or head over to my Instagram. You can drop a comment there. I'll be sure to respond there. Probably a little quicker than YouTube. I do my best though. Thank you guys so much for tuning in though. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you learned something, and I hope you're inspired to buy a 6.2, because we got to save these trucks because they are truly amazing. They're a truck for the purist, a truck for really like the true American. With that being said, let me know what else you want to see with this truck. There are big plans for it, but they're coming after the Mustang build. So next year, we're starting the truck build. I know it's kind of built, but it's going to be really built when we're done. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the future truck or Mustang content. But with that, this video is pretty much over. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll catch you all very, very soon.